Hey everyone, it's Mark, your firefighter, realtor, and out-of-state investor. Today, I have a special guest on, Donato Callahan, and he is one of the founders of BrightInvestor. He's a real estate investor, he's a GP for syndicators, he's an entrepreneur. But I want to introduce Donato to my channel.
It's awesome
Now,
get to talk to you.
yeah, we finally met social media. I reached out, you reached out, and we just connected, and it's been great sitting down and talking to you. And we can also let all your law enforcement friends know that you're on a firefighter channel, and I know they like to rag on us, and we like to rag on them. But it was fun. We were talking at the fire trucks behind me, but yeah, that this should be fun.
Oh yeah. They were all like, I was telling him when I first got to talk to you for a little bit, how, he's the middle of the day, he's got the hiking trail looking at him, he's got the fire trucks behind him. He does not a care in the world. And they were like, oh, those firefighters, they've got it made.
That was between our calls, though. That was between us
Uh-huh.
working. We were taking breaks, but I'm sure they had something to say about that.
Envious. The screen with envy, those guys.
All right. Well, before we get started, why don't you tell my guests a little bit about yourself, a little bit of your background?
Yeah, so I grew up in Iowa, ended up going to graduating high school as a valedictorian and went to school out of state at Boise State. It was the latter half of my college career that I got interested in investing in real estate and quickly went from wholesaling to commercial multifamily syndication. So upon graduation, about a year after graduating and buying my first house hack, I got into my first 172 unit building in Waco, Texas. And around that same time, I co-founded the real estate data mapping software, BrightInvestor with Drew McCluskey. And now I am 23. We're working on another 100 plus unit deal in Dallas, Fort Worth. I'm still turning units at my house hack, about to launch BrightInvestor as of right now, tomorrow, after this podcast. And no, I work my full-time job with the Department of Defense on top of that.
That is awesome. I mean, the one thing I want to say first though is you mentioned Boise State, and I'm in Honolulu, Hawaii, and when you say that, that's gonna hurt a lot of the people that probably from a lot of my audience, because yeah, as a football team, you guys used to destroy us year after year, and it was very painful to watch that blue
Yeah.
field, and yeah, so
Hmm.
it hurt a lot, but. And I also want to talk about your age, because a lot of the more recent interviews I've been doing, James Bracken, he's 19. Drew, I think he's 24 now.
Hmm.
You're
24.
23, but you guys are just amazing. And like I said, when I was that age, I just didn't know what I was doing, what my direction was. But for you guys, all just getting started, I commend that. It's super admirable, and I love it. But so let's kind of talk about maybe your real estate portfolio first before we dig deep into the BrightInvestor side. So I think you said, did you start off house hacking first, or you went straight into syndications?
Yeah. So the first ever transaction I closed was a remote wholesale deal. So I'd spent a year when I was in college working through this mastermind for wholesaling. I made some connections. And about a year before I graduated from college, I had talked to enough people who had said, house hacking is the way to go. If you're going to get started, go house hack something. And at that point, I knew I was moving to St. Louis. So as I started making connections with people on the ground there, different wholesalers, different investors, different realtors, just getting an idea of what's going on. And that's how I got connected to somebody who wanted to sell a property in St. Louis, and I knew a wholesaler in St. Louis. I connected the two of them and got a $2,000 check for basically referring someone to someone else. So that was transaction number one. But then after I closed that, then I graduated college. And on my 22nd birthday, I bought my house hack in St. Louis. So I woke up, had a nice breakfast, went to the bank and signed my documents. And it's a 4 unit building in the Tower Grove area of St. Louis. And it is about 4 units, 1,200 square feet per unit, original hardwood floors, like a 1926 building. It's massive, oversized units, and they're shotgun style, meaning that you can walk all the way through them. So there's only one private bedroom, but the other bedroom is side by side. When I got there, there were some residents who were paying maybe $475, and they had been for 10 years when market rent was up to $1,100 or $1,200. So my first goal was just live there for free. And with even at paying that, raising the rent just a little bit, I was able to get that goal, and wasn't paying anything out of pocket right out of college for my living expenses, which was awesome. And so it wasn't until a little bit later that I realized, hey, I actually have some room to grow on this property. So since late 2021, all 2022, and now I've been slowly turning units on it as my funds grow and the leases turn over. And I've successfully rented them from 550 all the way up to 950. I'm about to rent another one for about 1150, and it just turns over. So the cash flow on them is really nice as well. Since then, while I was doing the house hack, that's when I got involved in commercial syndication, because I talked to a lot of people, and it just seemed like the best way to succeed was just go big, go fast, and go for it. So we went big. So about a year after graduating college, mid 2022, we closed. And a year after I moved to St. Louis, we closed our first commercial syndication deal. So it went remote wholesale, house hack, commercial syndication number one, and then we're working on commercial syndication number two.
Wow. So what you also mentioned, you're a valedictorian. So is this the traditional path that a lot of valedictorians go down, you think? Like it just seems like were you headed down the traditional path of, finding, doctor, lawyer, working for your retirement, and you seem to have maybe veered off along the way somewhere.
Thank you for asking that. It's actually a topic I've been thinking about recently a lot. On social media, I think those who are successful in the real estate game or entrepreneurship or a lot, they don't always have the best look on traditional schooling. It's very much lead the traditional path. You don't have to be great at school to be in real estate. And it's really encouraging because you don't. You can be a C student or an A student. You can do well in real estate if you learn how to work with people, with the right contacts, put your head down and get to it. Anyone that can succeed. But in my situation, I did do well in school. And so I have a lot of peers who are saying, you don't have to be smart. The A students work for the C students. And I'm just kind of sitting over here like, hey guys, I was an A student for 7 years. So growing up, I always believed in I'm gonna get good grades so I can go to a good school with no debt and then get a good job. And that was the extent of my plan. Just get a good job. And when I was a freshman in college, I won this prestigious Department of Defense Smart Scholarship, which by and large, they pay for school, but I have to come work for them when they graduate. So by the time I was a freshman, I finished my first year, I had this cozy government job lined up. I was like, okay, well, I got good grades and I've gone to a good school and I'm going to graduate with no debt and I have a job lined up and I'm 18 years old. This can't be it. And there has to be something else. Like I can do so much more than this. Like there's no challenge here. And it was a mental shift, learning that just because I'm studious and I have the ability to perform well on tests and I can translate that into a job, that is not going to yield the most satisfaction for my day-to-day life. And it definitely won't yield the most profit or most earnings for me going into a traditional job and performing well in those ways, in the same way that an entrepreneurship and real estate can. So having to step out of an arena where I was really advanced and into an arena where my skill set by and large didn't apply and I had to rebuild my skill sets was definitely a challenge. And I had to quickly adapt to realizing that just because I can ace a test doesn't mean I can underwrite a property correctly or execute property management correctly. And I've had to chart my own path, especially as a younger person who didn't have that difficult time in traditional schooling and having to consciously make the choice to leave a situation or move away from a situation that was kind of like that quote unquote golden handcuffs. Like I could do well enough, I could have a good job, but I know I can be more, I can do more, I can have more, I can achieve more. So I'm going to go do that instead. And my family is just like, what are you doing? Like, you got the good job, you did it.
I bet. Well, so
Mhm.
what I'm hearing though, and you kind of touched on it, and I don't want to stereotype or whatnot, but you sound like valedictorian, maybe, book smart, can take tests very well. And maybe, but real estate, like you're saying, or entrepreneurship is a lot very personable relationship business. And, I think from what I see too, a lot of people that are very book smart or can take tests well, they have a little more challenges, maybe relating to people, or they're a little more introverted. So how did you kind of seem to find this perfect blend of combining both skills, like relationships and book smarts?
Mhm. I would say I've always been extroverted, by and large. I was always the, loud, hey world, here I am. Let's have some fun. Let's get this thing going. And my folks growing up, whenever I would wonder about whether I should take a risk or do something, my mom would always tell me, life isn't a dress rehearsal. You don't get to go through it once, say, okay, now I got it, and then go back and do it. Like, this is your one shot. You might as well go for it now. And they were actually the ones when it came to school, to saying, you don't have to do well. Like, you can get B's and C's if you want to. It's no pressure. You're doing fine. It's Don't put the pressure on yourself. So I never had an issue from like that perspective of like, hey, you got to be studious, get in the room and study, and kind of that environment of lock yourself away and do well. And growing up, I was always very much extroverted. So realizing that in the school system, in a way with your peers, being a really studious person or someone who's doing well academically can attract certain opportunities to you, but it can also be something that people don't necessarily want to hear at the same time. Like, hey, you're doing great in this test, you're doing great in school. What you get in the test? Oh, I got a 98. And your friend got like, maybe like a 72 or something. That can create those barriers. So I learned pretty early on that, hey, it's great to have success, but also be aware of the fact that because you can do something that maybe other people don't have the ability to do, or it just isn't their strong suit, that can also erect barriers. So I didn't really bank on it. I did not really craft my personality, or didn't uh, portray the sense that I'm carrying my books, my trapper keeper, and my glasses, and I'm walking everywhere. And I've filmed that vibe. I very much made that just a part of my personality, and I focused way more on making friends and going to different clubs and camps and just creating engaging relationships with people, and focusing on what I can connect on people with, as opposed to things that I can't connect with people with. Being that, hey, let's go see how we can build a bridge between our two worlds and meet somewhere in the middle. And now I've just been able to keep working on that. And now being studious doesn't matter as much anymore. And I have that foundation of looking for ways that I'm like other people, as opposed to looking for ways I'm not like other people.
So, from what I'm hearing, it's kind of like you were born for success. I feel like everything that's no, but I feel like everything that's happened, you're a valedictorian, you have entrepreneurship, real estate. But then I listened to one of your podcasts that you're interviewed on, and you were talking about wholesaling.
Mhm.
And it sounded like maybe that was something you struggled at. And, so
Mhm.
for my audience, I feel like I don't want them getting the impression that you just had it made, like everything was laid out for you
Mhm.
and everything was just easy, and everything. Everybody has failures and they learn from it. And why don't you talk about a little bit about the wholesaling side of it?
Yeah, for sure. First, getting into wholesaling, I had saved some money up, and my parents were always stock market investors. They said, you should invest your money. I'm like, okay, so I'll make an investment account and I'll put my money in. And I put it in for the first time like January 2020, and lost half of it when COVID hit, and went, this sucks. I need something that I can actually use to control my money. And I did some research, and I found wholesaling, and it seemed like, okay, I can put in X effort, I'll get out Y return, and all I'm going to do is find properties that have sellers that need to sell, and I'm going to be that person that makes a transaction easy. So I joined a mastermind to learn how to do wholesaling, and I was spending a couple $1,000s a month on direct mailers and a CRM and a mass dialer and a texter. And I hired a VA, and I had all these parts to a successful company, but I had no idea how to make them work together. And I didn't understand, like, if I do X, Y, and Z, why am I not getting this result? And the concept of just because you have the right components in place doesn't mean you built a successful business. Like, there's the lifeblood of it, there's the ingenuity, there's the people skills, there's all this creativity and persistence that comes along with it. And so I ended up spending like $25,000 over the course of my senior year of college. I'd saved up on this company and trying to buy more mailers and try to figure out people. And At the end of it, I actually did get a property under contract, and I did get one assigned to an end buyer, which was going to recoup my whole 25,000. And during that situation, the seller came back and said we went out of the contract because at that point her adult son was living there rent free and had been for years, and he had been communicating with her, oh mom, if you sell the house, what's going to happen? And he won her over, and so I had to make the decision: am I going to enforce this contract, or am I going to let her out and do what she feels she needs to do with her son? And I ended up letting her out, and I ate those 25 grand in costs. And I decided that wholesaling wasn't quite going to be for me if I had to keep going in situations like this. That wasn't conducive to for me. And thankfully it happened, because that's what got me into doing commercial multifamily, and it worked out the way it was supposed to. But wholesaling was such a mental shift where just because I did what I think was the right thing, it doesn't mean it's going to work out. And that was new, especially for someone coming from school, where if you spend a couple hours studying, if you take your notes, you will do well in the test. It was very much it's not linear anymore. It's not an expected guarantee when it comes to business. And I think it's an Office quote, or maybe it's Parks and Rec, where they say sometimes you can do everything right, or maybe the Star Trek, you can still do everything right in life and still fail. It won't work out. That's just called life. So
Well, I applaud you for what you did, eating that cost. I mean, it's I think very admirable that that was a decision that you made. And I don't think a lot of people would have done that. But and I said it put you down this, it was a mindset shift, and it put you down this path that maybe wholesaling wasn't for you. And you were able to hook up with Drew and start this new business that you guys are working on. But I love the journey. I mean, it's amazing. Like I said, I mean, most people would think, valedictorian, you're gonna go down this path of W-2 success, and maybe become a lawyer or a doctor. But yeah, you've kind of veered off. And so how are you? Because you said you're still working your W-2, and
mhm.
that's also a great job from I'm assuming, a retirement standpoint.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it,
no,
it depends on your definition of good retirement,
okay.
right?
No, yeah, okay.
Oh yeah. I mean, yes. So it's a government job. I work for, geospatial intelligence agency, deal with maps and satellites, and it's really cool stuff, working with people from around the world. And most of them, are very, very smart people. They have amazing computer science backgrounds, or they have cartography backgrounds, and they did well in school, and they've been working. And I know people have been working there for 25 years, and they're going to keep going for another 10 or 15. And I remember specifically talking to one of my coworkers, maybe like 6 months or a year into it. And at this point, I made it very clear I'm in real estate and I'm doing all these fun things. And they knew for sure that I'm in real estate. And I talked to one of my coworkers, and I asked him, "Hey, how long have you been working here?" So I know we have our 401k equivalents, and we have our matches, we have our health benefits, and they're fantastic. I'm, very fortunate position to be able to have those things. But I wanted to know what retirement looked like, and I asked him. He said, "I've been working here for 17 years," and he was married, but he had no kids. And so I thought, wow, 17 years, no kids and married. You could be getting close to retirement, maybe like 20 years, and you could be close. And I said that to him, like, wow, you must be pretty close to retirement. You must be excited. And he laughed at me. He laughed in my face. And I was like, well, what's so funny? And he said, I've mentally prepared to do another 17 years.
Oh,
And I remember that for like a year, because I truly do not know what that means. Like, what do you make? You're not even halfway. You're not even halfway. You're mentally prepared to do 17 more years. It's like, I know, like, you're making decent money. You have time on your hands. Like, you could you could do this if you wanted to. So the same guys were saying, like, oh, it'd be nice to have a couple of days off or a couple extra grand, and those things. Like, I see this disconnect between what you're saying you want and the capability that you have, and there's just this black hole in the middle called, either inability or wasted potential. Like, you could have these things. And I talked to him about, like, have you thought about doing something else, or helping bridge the what you want with what you're doing? And it's just, not what they want to do. It's they went the 20 to 25 years and the 401k equivalent and Social Security and their, their which accounts over those decades. And that was a massive wake up call that while real estate has so many benefits, it's not going to be for everyone. And there are people who are going to want to take that more traditional retirement path because either that's what their risk tolerance is or that's what they learned, and that's okay with them. So it's definitely been a massive awakening into what people can do and what they're willing to do, especially going to the corporate recruitment world.
Yeah, it's kind of like, like your police friends teasing us fire guys about our schedule and what we do. And, they can switch, they can jump over too, right? But,
Yeah.
but I mean, I think it sounded like too when we were talking earlier that your friend, your law enforcement friend, do they seem like that the real estate stuff is crazy? Like what you're doing is crazy? Do they think that's kind of what it is?
Yeah. I hear comments from them where they're like, well, they'll come in, they'll be like, I saw a YouTube kid. He's 15 years old making $2 million a year. Or these guys doing real estate making tons of money. And they'll drop a comment and say, man, I must be doing something wrong. Where did I go wrong? What's happening? And it takes like a lot of willpower for me not to go, I can I can help you if you want to acknowledge the fact that you're not where you want to be and you're somewhere else that you do want to be. But I think right there, that's the hard part is to accept change and actively pursue change. You have to accept the fact that you're not where you want to be. And I think that is one of the hardest things we can do, either as people and as entrepreneurs, is acknowledge the fact that everything hasn't worked out ideally. And I have wants and goals and dreams beyond where I'm at now. And yeah, so I hear folks talk about, must be doing something, there must be other ways. And I say, yeah, you can do real estate. And they go, oh, no, I'm not going to do that. I'm just like,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. Well, it's also like I see it in the firehouse a lot. It's not like they're doing anything wrong per se, right?
No,
Like
they're not. Mm-mm.
they're doing well. They say they have a good retirement, good, benefits, and everybody else around them is kind of doing the same thing. So it's like, oh, we're not doing anything wrong, but
Mm-hmm.
you're talking about it. Is it really where you want to be, or is that how, you know, gonna get you to this certain point, or maybe goals that you have? And I think, that's just what it is. And it's awesome that you were able to head down this path and realize that you wanted more. There was something more for you. And especially at the age, what age you are. I mean, it took me, I'm 46 already, and it took me years to realize like that I was just coasting along and there was so much more. And I'm still gonna do a few more years, but I'm probably gonna get out early. But like I mean, you could probably be done by your 30 and, just still doing what you love, and but also just having all this time freedom. And I think that's what it's all about.
I think you nailed it right there, which was, oh, you're doing well. Like working a traditional job, working and investing in your accounts and having that type of retirement. There's nothing wrong with that. And that's also one of the most difficult situations to walk out of. For my path that I was with the valedictorian, right? I wasn't doing anything wrong per se. I went to school, I got good grades, and I found a good job. There's nothing wrong with that. But then looking at the other side, like, while I'm not doing anything wrong, I could be doing something different that's much more in line with my values and where I want to go. And so leaving a pasture where the grass is pretty green for the pasture that has the grass you actually want to eat, that is leaving the confines of safety and venturing into the unknown, which is so risky. And it's not like I was coming from a barren wasteland where nothing was growing and I was starving and I had to go find something new to eat. No, I was satisfied. Like there was comfort. There was things are okay. And choosing to leave the okay for the great is so hard, but it's also the most fruitful when you can do it.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is you just started surrounding yourself with other like-minded people, or people that have this same vision of you, and that's kind of how you and Drew, your partner, hooked up. And
Mhm.
let's talk about that a little. How you guys came
Yeah.
together and got this idea of or this business you guys are working on.
Yeah, for sure. And I would 100% agree. Getting to the point now where it is weird when I talk to somebody and I say, "Oh yeah, I'm a real estate investor," and they go, "You can invest in real estate, or what's that?" It's like, "Oh wow, okay." It's meaning like to this point, like I've surrounded my people so much with who are already doing what I'm doing. It is, uncommon to be speaking to someone who is not doing real estate investing. So really niching down into that level where we're having these high level conversations, you're bouncing ideas off each other, giving referrals to different programs. That's been huge. Just surrounding yourself with individuals who do want to talk about what you want to talk about and are on that same path. Regarding BrightInvestor, it actually all started with a Facebook comment. Drew had just finished up an awesome internship in Hawaii with Brandon Turner and Bigger Pockets, and he made this post on Facebook. A couple photos of him at the beach. I give him a hard time for it, and he said, "Hey, just finished up this internship. Looking to connect with other people who are entrepreneurial and real estate minded. Love to connect." And I had been found the post online and been referred to like, "Hey, maybe you should go check this out." So found his post, and there are like 50 different comments underneath it saying, "Oh yeah, let's shoot me a DM, let's connect, hit me up." And I thought about it for a couple of seconds. I thought, why not? I'll throw my hat in the ring. Seems like a cool guy my age. So I commented. And around that time, I had just gotten into commercial multifamily, and I knew that was a topic that Drew had posted that he was interested in. So I thought, hey, we can connect on this. And maybe a couple of days later, a week later, he DM'd me in Facebook saying, "Hey, I saw your comment. Love to connect. Let's set up a Zoom." And so we did. And we talked about multifamily syndication and real estate investing and entrepreneurship. And we had like a weekly Zoom call for like 3, 4, 5, 6 weeks. And finally, after like that 6th week, we were talking so much. I said, "Hey, let me show you this project I'm working on." And I was on Zoom and I shared my screen, and it was the first beta prototype for the PDFs, which would at that point was called like Investo, map, or like GIS investing or something like that. And I had built out this prototype, and I showed it to him. And I'm like, "Oh, it's all about real estate and mapping, so you can see what's going on anywhere in the U.S." And he stopped for a second. He looked at me and he said, "I'm working on the same thing." And then he's flipped his Zoom camera and he showed me a prototype that he had made. And he was doing the same thing, but where I was focusing on specific cities, breaking out zip codes. He was looking at the national level and showing it like different cities compared to different cities. And we had this like moment of silence where we realized, oh, we got to do something with this. Like, this is just uncanny, just random circumstance meeting, have the same idea. And within 3 months, we had formed our company, hired our first developers, raised our seed money, had branding, and we were off to the races, just off one random Facebook comment.
So how long ago did this start? This was about how many months ago?
This started, Drew and I got introduced about September of 2021, August, September 2021. And we started active development on the company New Year's Day 2022. So the apps and the software has been growing for just about 15 months. And Drew and I have known each other about 19 months.
Yeah. So in my interview with Drew, we kind of looked into it. He was kind of showing me some samples of it, but I think it's going to be amazing. And, why don't you kind of maybe tell my audience, like, how do you think it's going to help investors, realtors? Like what is it going to bring to the market, do you think?
Very simply, confidence. If I'm living in St. Louis and I want to invest somewhere that has better returns, or I'm feeling that I can't afford where my own market is, and I see someone on Facebook saying I'm investing in Ohio and I'm out of state and I have these awesome returns, I want to go where the returns are. I want to go where my portfolio, my net worth, my real estate investing career can blossom. And that's not always going to be in your backyard. And if it is in your backyard, how do you know where to buy? Is it on this street? Is it on this street? Which area is appreciating more? Is there higher crime over here that I should avoid? What's the rent looking like in this area? Is the market even growing in terms of population and jobs? There is so much information that comes into what makes a real estate investment successful, and all that is derived into the location. Where you buy matters so much for so many reasons, because you're buying what's going on in the entire major metropolitan area. You're buying into the neighborhood. You're buying into the success and health of the community. And so you have to know, it is non-negotiable. You have to know what is going on around the area you're buying on the street, in the zip code, at the city level, so that you can invest with confidence and not spend your nights sleeplessly wondering if you bought in a war zone or if you bought somewhere that's going to be absolutely fantastic for you over the next 5 to 10 year hold period. So what we want to do is help people invest with confidence anywhere in the US by showing them the real estate market data they need to succeed.
Yeah, I think this is going to be huge. I mean, I got a chance to look at it, and I think it's going to be super helpful, especially for like new investors, realtors, and we talked about that. Like, there's
Mhm.
certain things that I can't say to a client as far as the area or the school district, but if I
Mhm.
can send them to this your guys' site, then they can see all this data for themselves and help them make their decision if this is an area they want to purchase in or whatnot. But I think it's going to be super helpful for a lot of people.
Exactly. With realtors, you want to be able to provide that up and above service. You want to stand out. And if you are the one that says, "Hey, I know the questions you have. I have done the research to find a product that can help answer those questions so you feel more confident about buying your forever home." Here you go. You've just added so much value to the experience that you're providing because you're going that step above and beyond to make sure that your clients' needs are serviced. From the real estate investing side, I want to know if I'm going to buy a property for 10 years, am I going to be appreciating at a 10% rate, at a 5% rate? It might not seem like a lot now, but compounded over your hold period, you're talking tens of thousands of dollars. If I'm buying an area that's increasing in crime and rents are lower, I need to know that. Otherwise, if it's my first deal and I've scrounged up every penny I possibly can to get into real estate, and the first one's a nightmare, that can turn people off from real estate investing for the rest of their careers. They could be completely antagonistic to real estate investing because they got burned so badly. And we want to prevent people from making those costly mistakes in the first place and help bring more success stories to real estate investing. Get more people to have that step out of poverty, that step out of being okay to great, get them to that success, whatever that is for them, easier, faster, more affordably, in a way that they can do it with confidence. So long-term holders, short-term, mid-term rentals, flippers, realtors, everyone that needs to know why should I be buying this location and what's happening now and going to happen in the future would benefit from BrightInvestor.
So you hear a lot of people, that talk when they partner up or joint venture or when they're trying to start a business together, that sometimes there's difficulties or challenges with the personalities or working with someone else. Has that happened to you and Drew?
So we very early on prioritized, and we have a business coach that talks about what you need to do to have a successful, business partnership. And from the very beginning, Drew and I said, "Hey, we have to date each other. Like this is like a marriage. We're going to be partners for years, and we're going to spend a lot of time together. We're going to probably travel together. We're going to have late nights together. Things are going to go great. Things are not going to go great. So we have to learn more about each other. And so we prioritize that every month. So the last, year and a half, every month I come down to Drew's hometown and we spend the weekend. We get dinner, we just talk shop, we brainstorm, we get to know each other, spend time with those families, do fun activities, do work activities, and ask each other personal questions like what are your values on this topic? What do you think? What do you feel? Where do your morals lie? What does your character say about this? And this constantly taking notes and building out this map of each other. So at this point, we're very close. And like I've shared the things that my biggest dreams and my biggest fears with him, and likewise. So not only have we focused on building a company with an app, but I've invested into him, his family, his wife, and their entire community, and him into mine. So we're building not only a partnership, but a friendship that I personally hope lasts for my entire life. And that's been a very active, very dedicated choice throughout this whole process.
Yeah, I mean, you like talking to both of you individually, you guys are awesome, but I can see how you guys kind of blend well together and it just probably just worked out super well. When you saw his kind of prototype and he saw was there like vast differences in the product? I mean, were you guys kind of really far off from what you guys were working on, or was it actually similar?
It was same idea. So we kind of approached it from different lenses. So on my product, I had a PDF that I had generated using some ArcGIS software just to mock something up. And I had taken the city of St. Louis, added in a boundary shape files to separate the entire city into zip codes, and then found publicly available rent data by bedroom count, then added a color gradient to it, and then displayed zip code by zip code where in St. Louis had the highest and lowest rents for certain types of bedroom units. I put that all together. I added a title and a legend and notes, and I made this curated PDF. And then I made another one for crime data. So I used after hours of searching. Oh, it was terrible trying to find data. And I displayed it in a like pinpoint. So I dropped a bunch of dots in a map because I actually had a friend of mine who was buying an apartment building in St. Louis. And I said, hey, I can make something that'll help you. And so I dropped a point where their property was, found all the crime data around it, made a legend, and said, here you go. Here's the rents in St. Louis for zip codes, and here's the map. And they looked at it like, wow, that's really cool. Like, no, thank you. And I asked them, do you have a product like this that you use for yourself? And they showed me a version. They showed me what they were currently using to find good or bad areas. And I was like, oh, I can do better than that. Oh, for sure, I can do better than that. And so my initial product was looking at the city, separating it by zip codes and neighborhoods. Drew's initial product was looking at like higher level information from like across the entire United States, doing a color gradient to see which areas had like the highest rent to price ratios, and looking at things like income, and across the entire US, looking at how areas and different regions can compare and contrast to other regions based on certain type of data. And so when we came together, we're like, we can show the nation, or we can show what's going on across the US, all these different data types, and then you get all the way to the street level and zip code level with the data. So people can see, okay, great, I'm looking on the East Coast over here, I'm getting into this one city and I see this information, but I don't want to know what's going on in the whole city. I want to know what's happening in my specific area. And so we combine this street to nationwide concept to all this real estate data we wanted to show. And that's how it came together.
Yeah, sounds like a perfect blend of two
Mhm.
products coming together. But I think the biggest question that people are going to have is, when can they expect this product to be out and available?
I'm so happy to announce that as of recording this podcast, BrightInvestor launches officially tomorrow, which is March 28th, 2023. We are so excited. We have so much planned. As we roll out, we're going to have so many new data types, features, and expansion items coming to the BrightInvestor over the coming months. We have huge plans for this thing, and we want to help a lot of people get that start and continue success in real estate investing. So less than 24 hours away at this point, March 28th. So excited.
All right, so I'm gonna have the links below, and they're working on it. I'm gonna get a link that you guys can use from my channel. It's gonna be for firefighter, but the link will all be below. You guys can get a discount there. But you guys are working hard. I know it's crunch time for you guys. You guys have a new podcast studio you guys are working on. I think is all up and ready now? I know I see that in the back, but is it all good to go now?
Yeah, I've got right around me, I've got the mic bar right here. I've got 3, 4 lights. I got 5 mic stands, a soundboard over there. We got a TV over here that shows the logo, and you'll see some of the content we've recorded for BrightInvestor. Help videos and FAQs and tutorials are all recorded here in this podcast studio that we built this week.
Yeah, I'm excited. I think this is going to be huge. I think it's going to help a lot of people. And talking about help, though, I kind of want to just transition just a little bit because I know you're probably super busy. But has there been any book or maybe coaching program or podcast that has really shifted your mindset from this valedictorian, W-2 worker down to this entrepreneur ready to launch this exciting platform?
Yeah. Books I remember reading were Make Big Money in Small Apartments. More recently, Traction and Rocket Fuel, which is all, the enterprise, how do you manage businesses, and Who Not How, all massive books that helped to kind of shift me from, okay, real estate's possible. You can make money with real estate. When you're building a company, figure out who you are, what is your value, what is your skill set. And then with Who Not How, find other people who has strengths and skill sets that aren't yours and work with them to create something that's larger than the sum of its parts. all those books, and I've dozens more. Drew sends me tons of books to read, and I send some to him, but he's an absolute machine when it comes to reading them out. Those books I remember as very crucial, just expanding my mindset, and how to build a story brand. That one's crucial. This when you're providing a service to a client, they're the hero. It's their journey. Your job is to help support them through it. And so focusing everything through that lens of how can I remove myself and my ego and my place of importance from the center podium and put my customer, my client, or subscriber there to make sure that I'm providing as much value to them and valuing what they value, because that's what it's all about. If they want to get 5 properties, I want to get 5 properties with them. They want to get 20, I want to get 20. If they want to make enough just so they can take their kid to school every day and pick their kid up from school every day and make sure that they are able to take those weekends off, that's what I want for them, because that's what they want. And, it's prioritizing other folks.
Well, talking about prioritizing other folks and adding value, how about right now, let's do a little selfless promotion. And, where can people find you? I know you're doing GP stuff as a syndicator, but where can people reach out to you if they have any questions?
Yeah, so you can check out BrightInvestor at www.brightinvestor.com. We have a live chatbot system with customer service reps waiting, so you can send us any questions right through there. We'll hear them. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Donato_Callahan and Twitter at DonCallahan_RE. And then I am also a frequent host on the Commercial Multifamily Lions Den podcast, which can be found at Commercial Multifamily Lions Den podcast.com. And we're talking about commercial syndication. And all of those places are great ways to get in touch with me and ask questions about commercial or entrepreneurship or software or business or just life in general.
Yeah, I reach out to him. I keep joking about it, but I think I'm gonna have to start carding all my guests pretty soon. I'm gonna have to get your guys' IDs and verify your guys' age, because you, Drew, Jay, it's nobody's gonna believe me that you guys are like all under 25 and have all these projects that you guys are working on. But it's super awesome that I've come in contact with you guys, and I love that your police friends though were kind of making their comments about firefighters, and I'm glad we got to connect. And hopefully you can show them this podcast or this video and tell them they can jump over anytime they want.
Yeah, of
they can
course.
get into real estate, but it's possible, right? But
Yeah.
yeah, this has been a lot of fun. But before we go, I know a lot of people, I like to talk to them about, you can see superheroes. My son, I kind of really got back into it and into comics again. But since you are younger, I have a feeling this is going to be more down your lane. But like, are
Oh,
you a
yeah.
Marvel or a DC fan?
Oh, can we get specific on like MCU or comic books or just like overall?
Wow. Overall.
Oh, man. I would probably have to go with Marvel, but I want a notable exception for Flashpoint comic and DC Kingdom Come. Fantastic series. And The Killing Joke with Batman, of course. Fantastic series. I want a big shout out to them, but I've loved the Hulk and I've loved Iron Man comics for a long time. And, Hulk's latest run for the Immortal Hulk was an insane, brand new twist on it. I got to give it to them.
See, I had a feeling that this is going to be right down your alley.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so okay. So now, if is there any character or any superhero that kind of relates to you, or maybe a superpower that one of them have that kind of helped you in your journey?
Yeah. I always loved the Hulk. I always loved the Hulk. This idea of, grappling with your inner strength. And he has a very long and, different history depending on the author that's writing him at that moment in time. But this idea of having almost like your potential, your strength, or this thing inside you that's fighting to get out, and having to understand, when do I unleash and release this inner strength, this inner, it could be turmoil, it could be positive, and what times do I need to be, mild mannered, Bruce Banner. I always loved that. Just, I have so much inside. How can I use it for good? How can I create instead of destroy? And how can I use my strength to help build things? And I just loved the Hulk growing up. I thought he was the coolest character, all the way from Lou Ferrigno all the way to now, and and Mark Ruffalo. It's No, Chris, I'm also a fan of the Ed Norton representation. I do like what they did a little bit earlier on, but I love the Hulk.
I love that answer. I never thought of it that way. I don't know if I've ever heard anyone say that Hulk kind of related to them, as far as like you're saying, there's something inside of you that you're trying to control, or when to let it out. And but yeah, that is an awesome answer. I like that. That's pretty deep.
Thank you. Yeah. I promise I don't prepare for these podcasts. None of this is pre-written. It's just coming straight from the heart, man. Straight from the heart.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to talk some more, but I'm super excited for Bright Investor to be launched tomorrow. I said I'll have all the links below. I have my link below that you guys can get a discount from Bright Investor. But I'm super excited for this. I think it's going to help a lot of people, and I see you and Drew, taking this far, and I think you guys are going to do very well, and probably come up with some other things along the way too, possibly.
That's the hope. We've got some ideas stirring, and I do want to say thanks again for the opportunities to come on and talk with you. I do credit a lot of the fortune that I've had so far, and just being able to do cool projects, just with talking to individuals like yourself and seeing the choices that you've been able to make and the success you've had, and learning from things you maybe would have wished you've done differently and things that you're really glad you did. It's all those types of intergenerational information exchange that allows people like Drew and myself to build upon what you guys have already built and do it alongside with you too, as peers and colleagues. So thanks again for the opportunity to speak on your podcast, let's get connected and swap some wisdom and stories.
Yeah, and then when you and Drew come out here, you can take pictures at the fire station by the fire trucks,
Yeah.
and you can show your friends. But yeah, we'll hook up when you guys get here. But thanks again, and anyone out there, I tell you, go check it out. Go check out Bright Investor. I think it's gonna be super big. But just keep looking for those great deals out there. Okay, thanks, Donato.
Thank you.